At this time, we're going to be convening our drainage workshop set for today. Mr. Sissi.
I got this one. The same one? Okay. Yes, sir.
Jaime, ¿otro o es el mismo?
It's just a minor change on it, sir. The page numbers.
Thank you.
Whose is this? We can include Mr. Payton in the negotiation. Mr. Payton. Is this yours? Yeah. Okay. And then they're going to defer.
No, I didn't pick up
on the form. Whose did you pick up? What is yours?
Oh, boss's day card.
Check it out.
Events this weekend for 50th. I'm ready to touch up, make up, job. We went up over 50 years, right?
Raul, are you ready?
Yes, sir.
All right. The issue of discussion and presentation as it relates to the Hidalgo County Drainage District Number 1 projects.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. We've been working, and I know that in several meetings I've spoken about our bond projects and what we've been doing and so forth. So we've prepared a project update booklet that kind of talks about the 2012 bond projects, where they're at as far as either evaluation, design, construction, and so forth. We try to present it as elementary as possible for everyone to follow, to kind of identify where we've been investing our funds, and that's basically what we're going to talk about today. I know that we have just a PowerPoint presentation. This is ready to go, Chief? Okay. So the first one there talks about it's just a slide showing the original projects that we had or identified, which is also everyone's, I guess, somewhat familiar with this, Judge. This was handed out during the 2012 bond referendum that we went around, or yourself and the former manager went around and passed out. That's just a representation of all our projects that we have identified. On this, there were identified 25 there were 25 bond projects that were identified there, and they were district wide. The bond projects are broken down, and let me just kind of talk a little bit about it before I jump into the first one. The bond projects
are the 2006 project.
Come again?
The first project, the first bond election in 2006.
Yes, sir.
Do you have the pamphlet?
I don't have the pamphlet on that one. I don't know, but I think it was a binder, Judge. I don't think there was a pamphlet for the 06, but I can speak to that here in a minute. I'm going to focus on the 2012, and then I'll focus on the 06 one and some of the ones that we have. But my understanding, there wasn't a pamphlet done for that one.
Well, if you can just provide us with a list of the projects that we're going to be worked on.
Of course. Yes, sir, I can do that. On the 2012, we had the 25 projects identified, and out of those 25, there were sub-projects in the precinct, in the Rural Drainage Development Program and in the Weir System Program. So we actually have a total of 44 projects that we have ongoing at the district that are related to the 2012 bond project. And I just I kept on saying, I've been expressing that, so I know that 25 was what they originally identified, and there's still 25, but there are sub-projects within rural drainage and within the Weir structures that make up 44 ongoing projects that we have ongoing right now. So the first one that we have identified there is the JO9 Drain System, and this is what the first bond project on the list. This JO9 system has a budget allocated of $5 million for it. This system is located north of Monte Cristo, and it starts at our outfall east of Jackson and runs west all the way to Wallace Road. It is an identified project on our master plan, and this project does service a lot of the areas that were inundated during the last year event that we call the May and Father's Day event that we had in June. It also was affected during the Dolly event. So this system is the first step in alleviating flooding. Part of the construction that's ongoing right now is to improve the drainage in some rural developments in that area, especially on Rio Grande Care Drive that was underwater for months. As a matter of fact, right now the contractors are already putting the piping in place, so that development has already positive outfall for those rural residents in that area. So that project is ongoing right now. It's a partnership between the district and the precinct. The precinct's doing the excavation of the project itself, and we have a consultant that's designing the plan. So there is acquisition ongoing as well, and the information there it's presented. So that's an area project for Precinct 4 that's improving drainage in the rural areas for existing residential and obviously for future possible development that will take place in that area once that system's in place. So I don't know if there's any questions on that one. I don't know if you want to go one by one or if you want to go collectively and then come back or whatever you
Well, I just want to acknowledge the mere fact that this arterial was planned prior to the storms of last year, but with modifying the scope, we were able to connect a lot of the residential areas with an outfall.
That's correct.
That we didn't have last year, where we're having to. It was a worst hit area that we had last year, and one of the worst hit
yes,
areas.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
And so now with that connectivity, we're able to drain all that area. So I know you're modifying as you go, which is great. That's what's obviously turning your projects from 24 to 44, because you're modifying as we go, which is good. But this is an example of one of those.
Yes, sir. Yeah, that is correct. Part of the extension of that, what I just mentioned to, or alluded to right now on the storm sewer system that's expanded to the existing residential development on Rio Grande Care Drive was actually designed in-house and was added to the contract of the contractor as a change order, so we have that in place now. So we have definitely drainage improvements where we didn't have any before in an area that was greatly affected last year. The next project that we have on the list is the Raymondville Drain, and that one has been an ongoing project for quite some time now. And again, we firmly believe that this is a project that will have a big impact to our area, directly and indirectly. Directly to precincts 2, 3, and 4, because they'll divert water just east of where Edinburg Lake currently is, and indirectly through the diversion of these waters will alleviate the water in our North Main, which will greatly impact Precinct 1. So I think that this project it's a good project for our region. It's a regional project that I think will bring great benefit to our area. So that project's ongoing, and that, as I mentioned, services basically anything north of 495 all the way up in precincts 2 and 3 and 4 will be diverted through that junction there just east of Edinburg Lake. And again, it will have a positive impact at Precinct 1 because all those waters that would normally flow through our current North Floodwater channel would not flow there anymore, so that would accommodate a lot of the laterals that are coming into it. So to create more capacity in Precinct 1 and some of those laterals that are existing and some that are being developed right now. So
So Raul, the Raymondville Drain is going to lead up all the way to between 3 to Iowa Road, around somewhere.
Right now, what we have is we have it in the diversion point just east of Edinburg, sir. But however, a lot of the laterals that come from the west do drain into that North Floodwater channel, sir.
But what about everything north of 7 Mile Line?
North, anything that comes in, we have, like for example, the JO9 that was just mentioned right now, that one is up on the north side that goes all the way west into, that actually drains eventually into this system. So all the waters that come from the west, sir, through all our laterals that we currently have, our North Main 3, there's a lot of existing laterals that we have and some that we're developing that drain into our North Floodwater channel that goes through the Panchita structure now into Willacy, will be diverted east of Edinburg Lake. So with this channel in place, then we will have the capacity to divert a massive amount of water north into the Raymondville area, into the Raymondville Drain area that currently is being planned or will be improved, and then in essence will impact greatly Precinct 3, sir. Mm-hmm. Yes, tremendously. And there are laterals that that we have on our master plan showing in Precinct 3 that we will be developing. And we'll provide drainage for Precinct 3, sir, yes. Right. So this project's ongoing right now, and it is an identified project. It's a long-term project. As I know there's always a question about the bond monies and, where's $184 million money spent. Well, just to clarify, the $84 million is what we've sold to date. The other $100 million are tied into the Raymondville Drain. There's some conditions in place. Those conditions must be met before any money can be released. The $100 million can be released. So we're still looking at the possibility of trying to release a portion of that money because of the great impact that the regional impact that this project will have. That's still being discussed with our bond counsel to see how we can fulfill the requirements or the intent of what we were doing with the bond language for this segment or for this project, the $100 million allocated for the Raymondville Drain. So that's still ongoing right now. But we have released $84 million. Out of those 84, $10 million are allocated to the Raymondville Drain, and those monies are being invested in currently design and land acquisition and construction that we're getting ready to initiate the beginning of the year for Segment 1 once we acquire the parcel for Segment 1, which runs all the way from our main up to the Fayetteville area. And now, as you recall, last year the Fayetteville area was a big area that was underwater greatly as well in Precinct 4 last year. So with this Segment 1 in place, we'll have a positive outfall for Fayetteville, which will have a great impact to that area as well. And we anticipate having that under construction next year. The district's going to be doing a lot of construction. The main crossings will be probably bid out because of the complexity of the structures, but most of the work will be done in-house. So we, as I mentioned, anticipate that put into construction sometime next year, if all goes well in the acquisition. The next project that we have on our list is the West Main Drain Control Structure. And it's just simply a control structure that that was identified on the bond to try to provide more capacity from one lateral into our main. And that's basically what happened. There was an additional box put in place with a gate structure, which allows a greater amount of volume into the system, which does impact the western area, especially the West Main Drain that I just mentioned, Commissioner. That one extends all the way west into Precinct 3. So that impact does not just immediately appear here in Precinct 4, it carries all the way west to Precinct 3. Yeah. The more volume that you can get into our main system, the better the water surface elevation that you can keep it lower to try to keep that water out from the streets and so forth. So that project right there, it's already constructed, it's fully constructed and completed. So that's one project that's completed completely.
Are those laterals, the one you're talking about, is the ones that were approved back in 1998 or 99?
Oh yes, sir. We have a lot of those in place. Some of them took place actually, and I'll talk about this under the 06, 07 with partnership with TxDOT.
But there were some in the late 90s.
Oh yes, sir. some of the early ones were created way back when, especially our West Main drain that goes all the way west. Yes, sir. And a lot of those systems, as I mentioned.
No, but what I'm trying to say is there was talk in Commissioner's Court about the laterals in Precinct 3 and Precinct 4. You believe that? You remember that? You don't remember that? You weren't here. You were working for Phase 5, I believe, back then.
Yeah, I wasn't at the county way back when. But I know that we do have our master plan, the original master plan adopted for some of the laterals that are identified. And in Precinct 3, we are looking at trying to tie those laterals into existing projects that we currently have under the bond issuance or just in general that have been improved through GLO, also projects that are going in your precinct right now. So that will be a priority for the district. We're looking to invest in Precinct 3 drainage as well because there is a need for that we do need to expand our system into that area to be able to get existing development out of water, but at the same time allow for future development to come in. So yes, sir, we are looking at that as well. The next project that we have is the identified on the bond issue, which is number 4, is the Mission Lateral, and that's merely just an extension across Benson Road to extend an existing 10x10 boxes there. Once that box is extended, then we'll have 2 10x10 boxes under Benson that will allow for greater flow into our McAllen, Mission, and our Rado drain. That's where our water splits there, right there. That the Mission lateral runs all the way west and it continues west across via our Goodwin lateral that initiates there at Abram Road. So this drain, all this, even though it comes into Precinct 2 and 4, and then eventually goes north. This ditch that I'm referring to here, part of it where it splits there, part of it runs south through our Rado drain, part of it runs north into our North Main that eventually at the southeast portion of the Edinburg Lake, what I'm talking about, that Raymondville Drain will divert all this water. With these improvements being in place, we'll be able to move more water at a faster rate and that way be able to alleviate flooding areas quicker. So that's project is being advertised for construction, and once it's constructed, it'll have there'll be more capacity in the system there for that Mission Lateral project. So,
did you have a meeting with the city of Mission here about a week ago? But I don't think it belongs to us, the drainage district. It belongs to the Hidalgo County irrigation district. No.
That is correct, sir. That's actually that ditch ties into this ditch here, sir.
Yeah.
Our Mission lateral is ours. We maintain it, but the lateral that they have just east of Stewart Road that crosses underneath the irrigation district number 1 canal and then runs west parallel to the existing irrigation district number 1 canal. It's been maintained by the city of Mission in partnership with irrigation district number 1. Irrigation district number 1. And I believe the plans, my understanding, were developed by the city of Mission way back when, 20 years ago, whenever it was, and it was funded by them for the construction of that box underneath the irrigation canal, sir.
And it's leaking quite a bit of water from the canal.
That is correct, sir. Yes, sir. So the engineers are looking at seeing how they can stop the leakage there. And I'm glad you brought that up because we did have some concerns. I think there was some people that were complaining about water in the ditch, that we've never had water and so forth. Well, that's the reason why. When you go out there and you look where that ditch comes in and ties into the Mission lateral to the west, it's dry. But to the east, it's water is continuous flowing, obviously, because the canal is leaking. So once that issue gets resolved and the leaking is addressed, then the Mission lateral will be back to its normal operation where it's dry when it's not wet, period.
Something about those boxes were not supposed to be used in that particular project?
I'm not sure about that, Commissioner. I haven't looked into that.
It's been 20 years ago, 20-some years ago.
Yes, sir. So we'll move on to the next project. Will be on the list. Number 5 is the 495 drain control structure. And again, this is another control structure that was identified to improve the capacity of the FM 495 drain that ties into our South Main drain. So that one, they've evaluated already the improvements, and all we're needing there is to basically put a backflow gate on the system itself because it already has the capacity of a 25-year storm, which is adequate for that area. and our main system couldn't handle any more than that. So that project is being finalized planned so we can put it out for construction. The next project is PSJ Lateral Drain Ditch Improvements, which is number 6 on our list. That one is an improvement that was identified from Expressway 83 all the way north to our South Main Drain, which is about 4.5 miles. And that project is currently under design, about to finalize design so we can go to construction. And the construction efforts will be done in-house to basically improve the capacity of flow in the drain itself, and at the same time create more volume in the system. So that will help the areas of San Juan, Pharr, and allow to keep more volume in the system itself. So, and at the same time, by accommodating more volume, it helps downstream systems as well, because if you hold the volume upstream, obviously the downstream systems are able to accommodate more water, and it helps alleviates some possible floodings downstream as well. So project number 7 is on our list is the Mission Inlet Recertification. And this is a project that basically starts at our alpha onto IBWC just east of Jackson and runs all the way northwest along the IBWC floodway, the old IBWC floodway, which is the Mission Inlet, into and stops just east of Inspiration Road. This project, for the benefit of everyone, the original bypass for the river bypass was what they call the Mission Inlet now. And since the IBWC built their own floodway, the Mission Inlet now just really handles localized flooding or localized waters, mainly from Mission, McAllen, some from Pharr, and it dumps into the IBWC floodway. That's the ultimate alpha for it. So this project is to release those lands within the existing Mission Inlet. The evaluation or drainage study has been conducted already by our consultants, and has identified that there is a possibility of releasing the lands starting at Jackson Road going west, with some improvements up to Sherry Road, I believe, and then from Sherry west, they're still evaluating whether or not improvements should be done. But the initial evaluation was that no improvements needed to be done, that we could release some of those lands in that area, which would allow to put those properties back on the tax roll for future development and so forth. And the system is adequate for a 100-year storm based on the evaluation. So that project's ongoing. The plans are being developed. Once they are fully developed, we'll submit to FEMA for a letter map provision that's required to the first step in the consideration for the release of those lands to get them back on the tax roll for proper possible development and so forth. So. And that project is ongoing right now. Project number 8 is the Jackson Drain Culvert. And this is a project that originally was a 06-07 bond issuance, Jackson Drain. The drain itself was excavated by the levee contractors, to my understanding. They needed the dirt. So the drain itself has been excavated, and the actual drain, the culvert itself on Las Milpas Road, was not constructed. So it's being evaluated whether or not the need to construct that culvert or what size of culvert needs to be put in place, which we're doing that in-house right now. And once we make the determination, we'll put it out for construction and then close that project out. We anticipate having this project closed out this coming year, and that's going to help that southern part of Pharr all the way down to 281, basically from 281 north all the way to Las Milpas, which is the area, I guess the south part of Pharr, Las Milpas area that will benefit tremendously from this proposed improvement. So. Project number 9 is the Edinburg control structure that was identified in the bond. That one again is another control structure that has been constructed to improve flow into the system from the lateral itself into our main. And 10 by 10 box was added with a gate structure, so it doubled the capacity of the flow in the area. And again, that lateral services all of the part of the northern part of services all of Precinct 2 to the west, part of Precinct 4 in the southern section, and actually all the way to Precinct 3, because that south main drains all the way west of there. So these control structures, even though they're located in this small area, so to speak, they have a big impact regionally, because it allows for water to move at a faster rate across our system. The next project, and that one is fully completed. Next project is on the list is number 10, which is the Alamo lateral control structure. And that one is being done in-house. We're evaluating the need and size of improvement for that Alamo lateral. The district is currently doing some maintenance and operation in that area, all the way from Sioux Road north to this outfall by widening the current system in place to facilitate maintenance and at the same time create more volume in our system. This area was one of the areas that was heavily hit as well during the last event, all the way from Cesar Chavez Road east to the Alamo lateral. Basically everything naturally flows in that direction. So with these improvements, coupled with the maintenance operation that we're doing, we feel that that's going to alleviate a lot of the issues that the water standing there for weeks and so forth, during a main event. So that project's ongoing. We should probably put it out for construction next year and have it fully completed as well in 2017. The next project on our list is number 11, which is South Pharr McAllen lateral. And this one was an original identified 2006 bond project, and the 2012 bond project identified the construction for it itself, for the actual structure in the IBWC floodway. This does impact South Pharr or part of Pharr and part of McAllen as well. As I mentioned, it was an 06-07 project, but funding was put in place for 2012 for construction only to improve the structure into the IBWC. And we are just about to put that project out for construction and should have it completed in 2017 as well. The next project on our list, number 12, is the Donna North lateral control structure. That one, again, as I've been mentioning, control structures are evaluated to see what needs to be done to improve it, whether or not we need to resize it, and based on the flow. And this one, the engineering has determined that building the banks upstream of the control structure itself on the main and on the Donna lateral will be sufficient to accommodate a 25-year storm. So that effort will be performed in-house by the district, and once that's done, we'll be able to close that project out. Item 13 is the Alamo Expressway drain, and again, this is another IBWC structure. This Alamo Expressway drain runs all the way from the expressway south and just to the projectional border road, goes straight south into the IBWC. This services a lot of the colonias in the southern area, a lot of the county rural developments down there. So it'll have a great impact to that area. And currently it's under construction, has been awarded, and right now we're just waiting on a clearance from IBWC regarding the gates that are being proposed to make sure that the specifications of the gates meet the IBWC requirement. That's been submitted, my understanding, from the engineer to IBWC, or will be shortly forthcoming, so we can re-engage that project and fully construct it and finish it out. So that project will be closed out next year. The next project that we have, number 14, is South Floodwater Channel. That South Floodwater Channel is a project that was identified as the South Fork project, and also other improvements upstream of our South Floodwater channel that was causing issues with the backing water up into some areas in the Dicker Road and 281, some the residential areas there. So part of the project was to install some gate structures there. And also we partnered with GLO project to improve the outfall structure into the IBWC. And that project is fully constructed, so we're going to close this project out and fulfill the requirements of the bond on that one. The item 15 is the Monte Cristo drain control structure. And again, the control structure itself will improve the flow into the actual system itself. So we are reevaluating the size of pipe that currently was being proposed there, and looking at doing the work in-house because of the master plan for that area. There was a budget constraint requirement or concern when they initially let this project out because they only had $139,000 allocated for it. Obviously, the requirement for the 10 by 10 boxes that are being called for by the engineering report would require more funding, so we're considering doing this project in-house and doing it in phases, so that way we could at least have something in place that we could later add to and then ultimately fulfill the final design of the engineering report of what's being recommended size-wise there. So, and that project again should be completed also in 2017 since we're going to do it in-house. Item 16 is our Weslaco North Lateral, and this is another control structure as well that has been already constructed, parallel structure to the existing one that's there. Basically doubles the capacity from the Weslaco Lateral into our main, and that's fully constructed, so within 30 days we should close this project out and be done with it. And again, this Weslaco Lateral runs all the way south and drains a lot of rural area and also some parts of the north side of Weslaco, so it'll have an impact to a large area. The East Donna Drain is number 17, and that was is a control. Excuse me, it's a IBWC structure as well, connecting an outfall or Donna drain that connects into IBWC. We're going to improve the structure there at the actual outfall, and at the same time install platforms for mobile pumps to be able to utilize whenever we have to close the gates, and if the IBWC is using the floodway to divert river water. That project's actually out for construction already, and we anticipate having this project completed by next year for sure. The next one is the Weslaco Drain Lateral, and that one currently is being proposed as a pump station to improve the water flow once we close the gates. We may have to reevaluate that one to see if additional structure could be installed in there, because this is one of the areas that the City of Weslaco reached out to us, and they had issues with this last year with the rain events that they received on the southern portion. Yes, sir. So we're looking at this, reevaluating this, and seeing if we need to approach it in a more regional way to see if we can be able to accommodate an additional structure in the existing footprint that we currently have in the connecting structure from our ditch into the IBWC. So currently, right now, only that we're proposing a pump structure, but the district in-house is reevaluating it and seeing if we need to modify it and put it out to bid with more gravity flow coming across the IBWC levee. So, again, we anticipate putting this out for construction next year. By the end of this year, it was what we were trying to, but based on the evaluation, we may have to put it out at the beginning of next year. So, but we feel confident that by 2017, that project will be fully constructed. The Project 19, South Mercedes Lateral, again, another IBWC structure. The same thing, we're adding boxes into the IBWC to a greater capacity of gravity flow, and also putting a pumping station, portable pumping station to be able to connect Palms whenever the IBWC closes the floodway. And this lateral services also the South Mercedes area. So with this additional capacity, will greatly help the south side of Mercedes during an event. The next one that one's under construction as well, and should be completed or will be completed in 2017. The Mercedes lateral, it's another IBWC structure that ties in east into on the north side of Mercedes, and this lateral runs all the way west across and all the way south into the northwest portion of the city of actually Weslaco. So it has a lot of impact, regional impact. We're doing some maintenance and operation on this Mercedes lateral to accommodate more drainage water in the system itself, at the same time facilitate maintenance of it. And with this additional structure that's being put in, and then the pumping also stations that are being put in once if the gates need to be closed. But with the gravity addition, the boxes that will allow for greater gravity flow will definitely have a positive impact. This is one of the areas where when we have major events, water backs up tremendously. So with this additional box structure, it would help alleviate a lot of the issues that we have after big rain events. And as I mentioned, this Mercedes lateral runs all the way west for several miles. So this is a big regional impact for Precinct 1 in the rural areas that will help alleviate a lot of the residential areas that connect to it. So. And a lot of our laterals, I guess I'm kind of overview, but a lot of our laterals have the irrigation districts connected to them. So it's not just our main systems that are serving. I mean, we have a lot of irrigation laterals that connect to our main drains. And those irrigation systems service a lot of the rural areas and a lot of the farm areas as well. So with these improvements, it does have a benefit to the residential or the rural developments that are out there. Item 21 is on our list is the Rado Drain Reroute project. And on that one, that was a project that was initiated on the southern portion between Expressway 83 and the Mission Inlet. There was a failure there in that area of a structure, so that was they felt the need at the time to make sure that with the structure failing there, because that Rado drain does serve a lot of the portion, as I mentioned earlier, of Mission and McAllen, where the Mission lateral enters east and west into it. It comes south, just north of 495. It comes south into this area, and it needed to be improved. So, because of the type of construction that was required, because of the limitations of accessibility, they went with a liner, so to speak, the in-situ type of liner in the actual pipe itself, and that project's fully completed, and now the system is operational. It shouldn't have any issues for at least 20 years or more. So, and that project's fully completed. So, list 22. On 22 on the bond are all the rural drainage projects that we have, and these are the sub projects that branch off. There was $15 million allocated for rural drainage in the bond issuance, and each precinct had an opportunity to evaluate their needs in the precinct and distribute it out. Each precinct got $3.75 million to identify projects and invest in those. So right now we're going to cover Precinct 1, which is 22A's Adams and Black Subdivision. And that one is a rural development that has experienced repetitive flooding. I know the commissioner has paved Adams and Black, the roads, re-elevated them and so forth. We actually, when I was at the county, helped or assisted the precinct with that effort. And now the drainage is forthcoming to be able to drain all that water in that areas where they've had repetitive flooding into our Mercedes lateral. So that's a rural drainage project that's currently finalizing design, and it's an acquisition of an easement that's required before we go to construction. So we anticipate having this built probably, if not starting by the end of the year, by 2017. The next project, Precinct 1, is Delta West. It's another rural drainage development project, and again, this was a project that that experience flooding as well. And we did the design in-house and put it out for construction, and coupled with Border Colonial Access money, that we're able to pave the streets as well. So this is a fully constructed, built project where there's outfall and drainage to a multitude of residents in that area that didn't have one before. So that project's fully done. Another one, rural drainage, is ditch 23, and this is a regional ditch that runs from 83 south. It crosses actually into Cameron County, and then eventually goes south and connects into the IBWC floodway. I apologize. That was Delta West. And that one connects into the IBWC floodway. We're working with TxDOT. TxDOT is looking at improving the crossings of the ditch itself and the outfall into the IBWC. We're currently working to identify ownership of the right-of-way itself and to see what physical limitations we have to improve the drain that will service a lot of this area south of the Expressway. Now, that ditch does go north. The red ditch is the ditch 23, but north of the Expressway, that ditch goes all the way north into part of Precinct 1 that services some rural subdivisions in that area north of there. So with these improvements, it should provide a positive outfall for that area. So, and that's currently being right now researched and prepared. The engineering report is being developed by the consultant. And once that's developed, then we'll make the determination of what type of improvements are going to be needed to continue the project forward. Another one for Precinct 1 is the Norte Rural Drainage Development Program. And again, this is another subdivision that's experienced flooding in the past. And we're going to be improving a crossing there at our Mercedes Lateral and putting drainage infrastructure in the development itself, where there's a very limited system that exists currently right now. So with the new improvements and the improvements in the channel itself, it will definitely help alleviate flooding in that area for that development also. The next one is mile 13.5 and FM 1015. And again, this is another area that was greatly affected during Dolly, somewhat Alex, and then also some of the rain events. This one will allow for a system to be put in place that will connect to an irrigation district ditch and then eventually into our east lateral that's being constructed by the GLO funding. So, I'm sorry. Yes. Got a little carried away. I apologize again. Lucero del Norte is the local subdivision there. It's been affected. And then the mile 13.5 and 1015 is the rural drainage development area that, again, with the improvements that we put in place, will definitely alleviate the flooding. We are also developing plans for an internal street that is being funded by FEMA with the recovery monies that was received by Precinct 1. So there's a partnership working in place to improve not only the drainage but the streets in that rural subdivision that has had repetitive issues. The next one is mile 6 and mile 14 North Area Drainage Improvement Project. And again, this one is it's another area that was greatly affected during previous events. And we're currently under construction right now. And then once that system's been put in place and the improvements downstream are conducted, which will be performed partly by the contractor and partly by the district, will definitely help evaluate a lot of the flooding in the area. And currently the system that they have in place is inadequate. With the new system, they should see minimal flooding in the streets in that area as well. The next project that we have rural drainage for Precinct 1 is Old River Road. And Old River Road, again, it's another area that was heavily hit during the last event. It's located in the south side of Donna. And that system does eventually connect into our South Donna drain. So where it connects into the IBDC structure that is part of the bond issuance that's being improved right now. So, and we definitely we're looking at the need to improve certain crossings. The engineering report is being developed by the consultant, and once that report comes in, we will evaluate what crossings need to be improved and either seek funding or perform some of those in-house to be able to alleviate the flooding. So several rural subdivisions there in the River Road area that were impacted greatly will be in a better position once we put in the drainage system for this area. So. The next one that we have rural drainage in Precinct 1 is Spanish Palms, and that one is actually, it was a two-part project. Part of it was external, part of it was an outfall line that was run from Spanish Palms to our East Mercedes, or to an irrigation district ditch that connects to our East Mercedes lateral. And then part of it also was internal drainage that was put in the subdivision itself, coupled with the improvements that Precinct 1 funded for the streets. The district provided the drainage improvements for it. So now this development, who in the past has had a lot of issues, has now a positive outfall to a drain ditch. And that project is fully completed as well. Tijerina Subdivision, Precinct 1 again, is another rural drainage project. And this again had experienced issues in the past. So the drainage has been put in place. There did not exist any drainage before. And not only that, but also coupled with the Border Colonial Access Program funding, they were able to pave the streets as well. So now the development has a new drainage system and new streets as well. So, and that project is fully constructed. Northside Village, now we're moving to Precinct 2. This again was a rural drainage project that is fully constructed as well, and it was an extension of drainage system from the Eldora area all the way into what we call our Cesar Chavez Drain that flows east. So, and that's fully in place already. That's fully constructed already. The next project in Precinct 2 that we have, rural drainage, is the Seminole Valley. And that's another project also. So it's a pipe system that was improved from Owasso into our LJ drain. And that's also fully constructed. That sets up in place to be able to connect areas that in the past had flooding issues with a new improvement, coupled with the improvement of the ditch itself, will provide relief for these residential areas. The next project is the Trenton Crossing, again Precinct 2, and this is part of the FM 495 drain. This drain, if you recall, also we have a control structure going in at the South Main drain. It's a project that's identified. But this Trenton Road crossing and the Wisconsin Road crossing, which is the next one as well, these two crossings are rural drainage for Precinct 2 that improve the crossings at said locations, Trenton and Wisconsin, for the 495 drain, so we can get that water eventually into our South Main. So, and those projects are fully constructed as well. One project, and I apologize, I don't know if we don't have it on here. We had one project, and I apologize, I don't have a slide. We have our Minnesota, and for Precinct 2, it's a big area. Our Minnesota and Cesar Chavez drainage area improvement. That's a project that's currently under design right now, and that's going to help about 5 to 6 subdivisions that in the past have experienced flooding in the southeast corner, northeast corner of Minnesota and Cesar Chavez, and southwest area of Minnesota, Cesar Chavez. It's a needed project that is currently under design right now to put in storm sewer systems and take it north into our existing LJ drain. So those projects are being developed, and I apologize we didn't put a slide or put something in here on it, but that's a project that's a rural drainage development project that it's ongoing right now for Precinct 2. So that's going to have a great impact to that whole intersection there I don't know how many residents are being impacted right now off the top of my head, but it's several subdivisions. I believe there are about 6 subdivisions that are being impacted in their area. So, so let's go back. In Precinct 3, we have the Joya Watershed, which is a rural drainage project. And on this project, it's a major project in the west end of our county. The Joya Watershed, it's about 25 square miles, and we've developed a plan to further improve drainage in that area. Currently, there is a construction of our southern detention basin south of Expressway 83 that's being currently built. 70-plus acres we purchased, or was purchased by the county. It's being constructed by the county. Eventually, the district will take over. But that's the first start of the La Joya and Peñitas, the area, the watershed improvements. A lot of improvements are going on in this area. We have also the Mile 3 improvements, Liberty Boulevard improvements. We have our TxDOT, the La Joya bypasses are ongoing. So all these improvements that I just mentioned right now will eventually discharge into the current detention area that's being constructed south of Expressway 83. And then we do have projects in place right now, plans and going to construction for our Liberty Bell Pit that will be constructed to catch all the water that's coming in from projects that are being developed by General Land Office funding. And we're also going to be improving the Peñitas Drain, what we call, which is another General Land Office project as well that's being funded by them for design and construction. So this project has a lot of items happening, that a lot of things that are taking place in that area. And once all these projects take place, all the improvements by GLO, by the Peñitas Drain, all the drainage improvements for the colonias that they're doing, the Liberty Bell Pit, the South Detention Basin, we will be in a position to continue expanding our system northward into areas of Precinct 3 that Commissioner was mentioning earlier that are fully developed currently right now, that have limited outfalls. So we're focusing on developing projects to extend drainage into those areas that currently have residential developments with limited outfalls. So this is the first step in it.
What about the little project on Abram Road and 3 Mile Line?
Yes, sir. Right now, we're in the process of acquiring a 50-acre tract for a regional detention facility on the northwest corner. We're working with the landowners, our consultants are, to acquire it and develop a detention facility that we can accommodate water for not only the improvements that are going on in the area, but there's several residential improvements that are being proposed in that area that will dump into it. So that's ongoing right now, and we're hoping that we can get that acquired by the end of the year or beginning of the year, and then start the development of that detention facility to be able to accommodate drainage waters for that area. So that's one big project that we have on the books right now, Commissioner, that will help tremendously in draining the areas in Precinct 3 for around the Abram and 3 Mile. So this project, this watershed project is very important and instrumental in the future growth of Precinct 3. It was the first step that needed to be taken to make sure that we lay the groundwork for the future improvements that need to come to Precinct 3 to provide better drainage for that area. Hoehn Rural Drainage Development Program is one in Precinct 4. This one's under construction currently, and it's from Hoehn all the way to our JO8. This area, Hoehn Road, or the rural drainage Hoehn, has experienced tremendous, flooding in the past. So this project in place, and we're about 95% complete. With all this improvement in place, there's no need to have a pump structure anymore right now. We had a pump structure on the southern portion of Hoehn. We have a detention area that held the water, and then we pumped it. But now with the gravity line that was installed, a 54-inch line for that area, it drains Hoehn in the region as well. So it provides positive outfall into our JO8, which is also being improved by the district. So then we'll have gravity flow for the whole system, which is a big improvement for this area. So and that project's almost fully completed. Precinct 4 North Seminary Estates is another project that in the past had experienced issues, and that's up the north side of Edinburg Lake, around Seminary Road. That area in the past, we had many flooding issues with the improvements of the storm sewer system and the improvements that the drainage district has performed in that area. Some bypass channels that we temporarily had put in place. During the last event, there was minimal flooding of the residents, which is a big positive. Being that it's a very low natural area, but we didn't have any impacts in the last event. Precinct 4, another one, rural drain is the Trenton phases 2 and 3. That's the Trenton Drain. Currently, the Trenton Drain exists all the way to Alamo Road, and the plan is to expand that drain west into areas that were heavily hit during the last May and Father's Day event. The areas in red were the ones that we're looking to impact. Currently, that's being evaluated in-house to determine the approach to take. We may have to develop a detention linear detention ditch just west of Alamo Road, and we're exploring the possibility of taking the water north instead of east. But that's ongoing, and once we determine that, then by next year we should be generating plans and get it out for construction. Part of it will be probably constructed with in-house forces, coupled with the Precinct 4 forces, and part of it may be bid out as well. So, we've been working with Precinct 4 on this project because we know this area was one of the ones that was heavily affected during the last event. Precinct 4, another one, another project on the list is the 23 is the main floodwater channel weirs, and the 23A is the weir number 4, which is on our main floodwater channel, and that's one of the weirs that was identified to evaluate and improve. So we received bids, and they were a little bit on the high side. We thought about 4 or 5 years ago we received the bids. So I've gotten with our consultant, and we've evaluated the actual status of the weir itself. It appears that the weir is doing well currently over the last 4 years. So we're looking at, with our consultant, the possibility of doing some of the riprap and shoring up ourselves with in-house forces so we can close this project out. Weir number 5 is also another weir in our main floodwater channel, and I guess for lack of knowledge, weirs are just basically control flow. It just controls the water flowing downstream. That's basically what it is. A lot of them also, a lot of these are put in because of elevation difference, so we don't just push everything downstream. And so it's basically just a way to control water through our channels. And this weir already has been fully rehabilitated, and it's in place. It's fully constructed or repaired. The next one is North Main Drain Weir 1, and that one is on our North Main Drain right before it gets to our main floodwater channel. And let me see. That one's also fully constructed, and again, it was just some riprap and repair on the weir itself. The next one should be South Main Drain Weir 5, and that one, it's again another control structure that we have on our South Main Drain, and that one has been was evaluated. We looked at, we actually had received bids on it, but when we looked at it closer, we said no, there's no real need to reconstruct this. So we're doing some in-house work in there on the riprap downstream to address the weir concerns on it itself. So we should be able to close this project out this coming year. The last one that we have is our Delta Area Watershed Development Project, which is the project number 25, also known as the Delta Region Water Management Project. And this one is a regional project because it does have to do with our main floodwater channel on the north side of our county. And the project here is to establish reservoir areas for drainage, floodwater detention, but also it's a reuse project. We currently have our application pending before TCEQ for the approval to be able to extract water and treat it and resell it.
We're coming up pretty soon, no?
Yes, sir. I think this month it expires, or we have a 30-day public comment period ending. And traditionally, once that ends, depending on the comments we receive, but we haven't received anything that I'm aware of that has been conveyed to us regarding anything against the project or so forth. So once that comment period ends, then they'll move to issue the actual permit and license that then we can extract water, which is a big project for us because we'll be the only one in the state that can actually extract water out of our system, store it, treat it, and then resell it, either to resell it for further treatment to other water suppliers or to irrigation districts. I know some municipalities have expressed interest in it to be able to buy that water. So obviously the first step is to get the application approved, and then further steps will need to be taken, development of water treatment plants for secondary treatment to be able to get it to the water level, to a treatable level that we can resell it. So that project's ongoing right now, and once we get the permit, we're going to look at the possibility of acquiring an area close to our Panchita structure for retention. And then we're also working with the 3 irrigation districts, Engelman, Delta Lake, and Santa Cruz, to be able to utilize their existing reservoirs that they have in place for storage of water, and partnering with them, and the possibility of, as I mentioned, treating the water and reselling it. So that's an income-producing project. It does require a little bit more investment than we have identified on our bond. But we're hopeful that once we get the permits, it's the first type of project of its kind in the state of Texas, that maybe we'll seek funding from Texas Water Development Board or TCEQ for the reuse of the water, which we know is an important thing down here, especially right now. We're getting into a dry season. We were in a wet period last year and so forth, so we really didn't feel it. But then later on, when we get into the dry season and we start having issues with water, this type of project can be very helpful in providing that water that we need. So that's kind of an overview of what we have. We do have handouts for everyone. We're going to be updating all this information on our website, and that's the 2012 bond projects that we have, where they are. In the handouts themselves, it talks about the actual cost to date, what we've invested, where we are on the project. It has a little more, just a little narrative explanation of what has been done and what is being done, on the 2012. So, any question on that right now? And I'll jump into 06, 07.
Just on the last one, Raul, I know. I think we preset some bonds. Here it shows total engineering, but I think there's a balance. Did we preset for the water reclamation 10 mil, or how much was it that we set aside?
We had
10 million, right?
We have, yes.
Okay. And just a comment, obviously, Water Development Board has been a source of funding for both water reclamation as well as the Raymondville Drain. We've worked cooperatively together between both projects. Both have significant benefits, but I know the court has been committed to advance both of those projects. So just want to commend the court and yourselves to see that through, because it's critical. Both projects are just as critical. Oh,
yeah, yes, sir. And as I mentioned, the Raymondville Drain it's definitely a big project for us. It'll help tremendous area on the west, and this project as well will help us not only the west but the east as well. So yeah, both projects are instrumental for our regional drainage needs that we have in our county. So, and that's the 2012 overview that we currently have right now. I know that the judge asked about the 06, 07. We do have certain projects in the 0607 that were identified. The Raymondville Drain was one that was identified. Obviously, that's an ongoing project. The Mission Inlet Bypass is a completed project, so that one we can close out. The Monte Cristo outfall is still ongoing. Actually, we have our control structure that I mentioned here. That's part of it as well. There is a need to look at improving some of those crossings on Monte Cristo outfall to be able to fully complete the intent of the 06 bond. The La Villa Drain is another drain that runs on the south side of La Villa that was identified in the 06. That one does tie into our east lateral, but there is a need to improve some of those crossings and drain itself. So that's still a project that's on the books. The Penitas Drain Basin, it's a project that I believe still needs to remain on the books, because even though we're doing the western portion of what I mentioned already on the La Joya Watershed, the Penitas Drain is just a little bit east of it, and I think that there's a need to look at that and fully develop that project itself. So that's going to remain on the books. The Jackson Drain, as I mentioned, has already been constructed, and just all we're lacking is evaluation and determination of the crossing, but I believe that one can come off the books. The Weslaco outfall, the W0600 North Weslaco outfall, that's one that we've been in communication with the precinct, with the city of Weslaco and city of Mercedes. That one is a project that's needed. We do need to look at developing that project. It does impact rural areas on the northeast portion of Weslaco and part of Mercedes as well, and the county and the precinct one as well, rural areas. So that project needs to remain on the books itself. The Alamo Drain, Goodwin Drain, Linda Vista Drain, and the Pharr McAllen Drain. The Alamo Drain, the Goodwin Drain, the Linda Vista Drain. Those have been fully constructed and developed. So I believe we're working to get those off the books as well. And then the McAllen Drain, Pharr McAllen Drain. As I mentioned, the funding for the construction is coming out of the 2012, so once that's fully done, we'll get that one off the books. And then and I believe that's really it that was originally identified on the bond issues of the 06, 07, and 08. So I know that was just kind of a quick overview, but a lot of these projects on the 06, 07 will be taken off the books, and some, as I mentioned, will still need to continue because there's still a need to develop them. It's just a matter of finding funding to do it.
Well, thank you very much.
I know that's a lot. I mean, it's a lot of information to share with you. Yes, sir.
On the east lateral, in west of the east lateral, between pockets of the city and the one you mentioned.
Yes, sir.
Just for information, we responded to the RFPs from the GLO, and I believe it's been, $4 million have been assigned to the county, but that's one project that we. The Weslaco East Lateral project was one of the projects that we had identified so there could be a possibility that we could utilize some of those funds from GLO to make sure that we cover that area, that the Las Brisas, Tapas, and all those. But I just wanted to make sure that we.
Yeah, that's the area that we've been talking about.
Okay. And just real quick, I mean, I know it's going to be a long presentation. I'd be more than happy to try to answer questions, but just want to point out we have about 36 other ongoing projects that are not bond related. We're working with various precincts on drainage projects to help certain areas from small to big. We do have a lot of them that we're developing right now. A lot of them that we're doing maintenance and operation, as I mentioned, to widen our system and just to step it in a way that we can easily maintain, but at the same time provide more volume in it. So I believe that's a maintenance and operation issue. So we're looking actively at trying to improve our system in areas that we know we've had issues, and our plan is to continue that and then go beyond that and continue to improve our system outside those areas that we experience issues. So we're ongoing. We're trying to find ways to partner with the development communities to make sure that the developers, the development community, to make sure that we are able to improve drainage in areas where either proposed developments are going in or existing developments are, to be able to drain these residential areas. So, the 44 projects that I just kind of covered are very important because they're bond projects. We also, as I just mentioned, we have about 36 that are ongoing right now that we'll try to provide a summary of, but those are always interchanging. Some of them have been closed out. As we add some, we remove some. So it's not just the bond, and we're not just out there cutting grass and doing stuff like that. Yeah, we're very active in construction. We're very active in improving.
Especially in Precinct 1, you've helped to the land with drainage projects, and I appreciate that. I want to thank you for that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We're reaching out to all the precincts. We've been partnering with all the precincts on multiple projects.
Raul, if I may give commendation to you and your staff and all the field staff, the philosophy of the district has been far different than what it was in the past. I really appreciate, and I think the taxpayer appreciates how committed you all are pushing dirt and making sure that these projects are completed. As you went through all the projects, it's real simple to see the mere fact that most of them are completed. And I think that your report signifies your commitment, and I think that your daily objectives are to continue to move forward. Having said that, I do want to commend you on not just looking at macro projects, which the district in the past has looked at, but all those micro projects that are actually assure that there's connectivity to our subdivisions, our colonias, all the areas, and the working in partnerships. We can do so much together, and I think that that's real evident on what you guys have been doing. So just commendation on my behalf and the precinct and the residents we serve.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
And I'd like to just say that you've always impressed me with your knowledge of all the projects. I call you on just a few of these projects, and you're able to rattle off, facts and where we're at, and I appreciate it, and I think it's very helpful for us to, in the limited projects that we have within our precinct, right? I think that we solely look at the projects at our precinct, unless it's it's the Raymondville Drain or something like that. But when I call you, man, you're on top of it, and I appreciate that. It makes my job a lot easier.
We try to be, sir. We try to be, and we are working. I know that the website's been an issue, in the past. We've had meetings with Lupe and so forth and other great organizations, and we're actually actively pursuing right now to try to get a website developer, some type of consultant that comes in, develops our website, makes it user friendly, because all this is a lot of information, and this is in real time as projects. Move forward, I want to be able to update that on a monthly basis or quarterly basis, where we're at, what we're doing, and I know that it's been slowly moving, but we have been working a lot. We have been trying to address a lot of the questions that come out of us. What residential areas are you improving? What are you working on? Hopefully the public can understand that a lot of the areas that we're improving, a lot of the control structures, a lot of the ditches, do service those areas. But we are also looking at ways to try to get pipe in the ground from the residential areas into the ditches. I think all precincts are doing that, So and I wish we could do them all, but obviously we're limited in funding. But we are looking at trying to find additional funding to balance it. And as Commissioner, as you said, we do look at the big picture of the drainage system, but we also don't want to ignore the fact that we need to extend storm sewer into the urbanized areas or the rural development areas to make sure that we get that water out of there as efficiently as possible. So, any questions?
Raul, I stepped out. I missed. How many projects have been completed? Or are you working on from the 2006?
Okay, from the 2006.
I know there was 100 million. 79 went to the levies, but from the 21 that were spent by the district, what work was done?
Okay, let me just. We have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Out of the 11 projects that we have, which is the Raymondville Drain, Mission Inlet, Monte Cristo, La Villa, Peñitas, Jackson, Weslaco, Alamo Drain, Goodwin Drain, Linda Vista, and Pharr McAllen. The Raymondville remains open, Judge. The Mission Inlet is complete. The Monte Cristo remains open, sir. The La Villa remains open. The Peñitas Drainage Basin remains open. The Jackson Drain will be closing. The Weslaco remains open. The Alamo Lateral is closed. Goodwin as well. Linda Vista as well. And the Pharr McAllen should be closed here this coming year. So out of those 11, sir, we're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that will remain open and 6 that we can close off, in my opinion, based on the improvements that have been done. Yes, sir.
If you could provide me with or us with
Of
a
course.
list laying out the amount of money that was allotted for the project and how much has been spent and for the percentage of completion.
Of course.
And I also want to join in commending you for the work that you've done.
Thank you.
That you've taken over.
Yeah, it's all my staff, sir. I mean, I try to put as much as I can together, but my staff is tremendous and has really helped me out. And the consultants actually have a lot of the consultants have helped out tremendously in putting a lot of this information together, and good working relationship with the consultants. But my staff also is key, and especially my accounting staff. I tell them, make sure I have to trust what you give me, because those numbers are very important, and they've been putting in long hours to make sure that they get all this information. And as I mentioned earlier, Judge, I don't know if you were here, but we're working to try to get a website provider on board, and then we're going to try to real-time and provide updates. We're going to put the current website under construction and not have anything on it right now, and then so when we bring it back within hopefully 30 days, we're going to have all this information, everything real-time, and start updating it as we need to. So now that we have the format laid out and everything in place, get an actual provider that does that type of work to maintain it for us, and then eventually probably bring somebody on board. But
I think it's critical. I think the other thing is working with Lupe and getting the messages out there.
Sure.
It's amazing. Unless you're up in the air, you can't see some of these structures that are literally maybe a half a mile, a quarter of a mile from their subdivisions and colonias. But it's real critical that we continue to talk to our partners. They're a good source to communicate to all those areas that are going to be affected by the improvements and all. The other thing, Raul, is, and one thing that I noted is, a good distribution of work has been given to many, and so it become a local stimulus to some of the firms that we work. And I do commend you. One thing that I didn't say is a lot of the in-house construction you've done, you've been able to stretch that tax dollar, the bond dollar, as far as you could to build a lot more. So I commend you on that.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, we're trying to find ways to do as much as we can in-house, and we understand there's a need to put work out for the consultants on some projects and contractors as well. But there's a lot of stuff that we can kind of handle in-house and try to do more with it. So, yeah, we're working to balance as best.
Would you want to recognize some of the people from your staff?
Yeah, no, definitely. Mr. Salazar is our operations manager, and he's been instrumental in putting all this together. He's been at the district. He's been at the district. I don't even get a clap. Come on, Chief. He's been at the district for 11 years. Well, 8 since I came on. No, 9 after I came on. So almost 2 years now. So we're going to stuck with me at 9 or 8, but 9. So 11 total years now that I've been there for almost 2. And then Laura is our numbers lady, and Mr. Troop, our numbers guy also. So they work together to put all these numbers together. And Mr. Canto is working. He does a lot of our GIS work as well, and is working on updating a lot of our website stuff. But did I miss anybody else? That's what we have right now. Okay. Domingo Villarreal, precinct 3 is here. La mera pipa de precinct 3.
Raúl Cecín.
Rado, any questions? Or sure. Of course.
Hi, my name is Brooke Lissy. I work with the nonprofit Arise. I'm here today with my colleagues from Lupe and Texas Low Income Housing Information Service. Thank you to the Drainage District for their excellent work on this report. We know that drainage is a fundamental public service and an essential factor in quality of life for Valley residents, so we applaud their work on this report. It really demonstrates the sincere interest in improving the communication and transparency of the Drainage District, and we're excited to know that there's a possibility of hiring someone to improve the website and providing more frequent updates. And this report is much more rich in information, so it's good. We're happy to have more details and on the percent of project completion, photos, description of the location, etc. And we appreciate this public meeting because we're grateful for the opportunity for residents to give some feedback. But as you know, we're concerned with the fact that, the drainage system, we still have work to do. And often Colonia residents are the ones hit hardest by inequalities in the drainage system. We also know that often they're the ones who have the least access and voice in the way that these decisions are made. And this is why we as community-based organizations, we're really eager to learn more about all of these processes and better understand the drainage improvements that affect us. So something that I took note of during this meeting, for the general public, I still feel like it's a little bit difficult to follow a report like this. The explanation is great, but it's still difficult if you don't necessarily understand the process of how these projects are identified, which subdivisions they impact, the different sources from which they're funded, the different phases of work that gets done on them. And there's a lot of abbreviations that can be hard to understand if you're not familiar with them, or if you don't have a background knowledge of drainage. So this is a problem that I think really continuing to work together with community-based organizations, we can find solutions to, and make sure that the reporting is more accessible to community members, the community members that these improvements directly impact or could impact, and making sure that the drainage district and the county is accountable to its constituents here, so we can fully understand this excellent work that's being done. So just a couple of other comments. We hope that in the future we can get a little bit more of an advance notice for when these meetings are being planned, because we want to bring community members in, and it's difficult to do that when there's like less than a week's notice. So that would be one thing that we would hope, that there could be a little bit more of an advance notice on the scheduling. And a couple of questions. So on the projects that are not being covered by the projects that were not covered by this report or not covered by bond funds, will you be reporting on those too? And also, I would like to know, what will you do to ensure accountability and transparency to Colonia residents? How will you make sure that the language you use is understandable for general audiences who don't have drainage expertise, and for Spanish-speaking audiences as well? And yeah, so just to conclude, in order to make real steps toward a drainage system that works for all Hidalgo County residents, we really need to give Colonia residents not only a report, but the power to have a voice in the decisions that are made about drainage here in Hidalgo County. This report is a great start, but hopefully we can keep working together to make sure that all residents of Hidalgo County have adequate protection from flooding. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay. Or do you want to? Yes, ma'am.
¿Cómo está?
Buenos días. Yo voy a hablar en español. Yo estoy bien agradecida porque la colonia Spanish Palm está bendecida porque ya terminaron el drenaje. Simplemente nada más quería decirle al señor Cecín que si él se podía comunicar con el otro ingeniero que hizo el drenaje, porque yo sé que el condado no lo hizo, ¿verdad? Entonces quisiera que se pusieran de acuerdo y fueran a la colonia, porque no tenemos el año que no la hicieron, pero no tenemos, no nos inundamos, gracias a Dios, pero sí cuando se viene el agua se corre todo el granito y pues ya pipas ya están como tanto así descubiertas nomás, porque ya toda la arena se fue para adentro. Eso es todo lo que yo quería comentarles, porque si tenemos nada más 4 o 5 meses que no la terminaron, y si vamos a esperar un año, pues ya no vamos a tener de vuelta drenaje, vamos a tener que empezar de vuelta a estar molestando a los comisionados, que pues no es necesario, porque el señor, yo pienso que tiene que ir a checar y mirar una manera de que no se nos vaya la grava para adentro. Eso es todo lo que yo quería comentarles.
Gracias.
Gracias.
I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.